Gabe. The first committee, of course, is the Rules Committee, and at this time we will be dealing with the contracts. Once the contracts are approved or disapproved, whichever the case may be, we recess and we move on to the other committees. And at this point, I'm going to ask Mr. Muller to call the roll.
Legislator Szilagyi.
Here.
Legislator Jacobs.
Yeah.
Ranking Member Abrahams.
Here.
Legislator Walker, Substitute Legislator Capel.
Here.
Legislator Dunn. He's here. Vice Chairman Nicolello.
Here.
Chairwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. The first contract is contract B, 03-16, and I'm not going to say 16. This is the first time I'm going to say it. I believe it will be for the record that we are now in 2016. And that's a contract with the Department of Public Works and ACS Systems Associates, Inc. Motion, please.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Dunn, seconded by Legislator Walker. Any questions or comments on it?
Yeah.
Arnold, what was
I'm
Want to ask Mr. Arnold?
Ken Arnold, Public Works. B3 is a construction contract to replace 2 boilers at the county court building. It was competitively bid. There were 3 bidders, and ACS is the lowest responsible bidder.
How are you, Mr. Arnold?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. If I understand you correctly, there were 3 bids that were received, and the lowest responsible bidder was ACS
That's correct.
at 1.999 million.
Correct.
Okay. And then obviously, I have to ask, were there any outside contact from the vendor and anyone that drafted the RFP or anyone in the DPW administration?
No.
Before or after?
Not to my knowledge. This would have been done as part of a design contract with our consultant, and any questions during bidding would be done through an addendum.
And who drafted the RFP?
This was a bid contract, so the design package was put together by, I believe it was Cameron Engineering.
Cameron, and was there any contact from the administration, anybody in DPW regarding this contract?
No.
And in the backup, Mr. Arnold, the vendor's submission does not contain any response to the questions in regards to conflicts of interest. Usually there's required a yes or no response. Any explanation on why that's the case?
I believe this is the same item we discussed with the Lizard contract.
I remember that.
Yeah, I believe the non-response is taken as a negative.
How is that acceptable?
You have to speak to the county attorney's office. They review that part of the documentation.
Is anyone here from the county attorney's office?
I believe that question was brought up at the last meeting, correct?
That's correct.
And responded to appropriately?
Yes.
Ms. Luperto?
So it should be, Ms. Lucurta, before you respond, so should this body, should we take it under the impression that when we see no response, we should just assume that there's no conflict of interest, rather than have somebody just fill out or check off no?
I'm sorry, Legislator, just so I'm clear on the question.
Yes,
This is in the vendor disclosure statement?
Yes, let me go back.
The
So
business disclosure.
Yes,
Okay.
Let me go back. In the section where it talks about the conflicts of interest, the vendor submission does not contain a response to the question, it's just left blank. So this came up at a previous contract, and the question is, should this body, when we don't see a response, how are we not to know somebody just missed it, and there really could be a conflict, but they just didn't see it, or there is no conflict, there is no concern, and they left it blank. It just leaves the county open to somebody saying at a later date, well, I didn't see it, and therefore I didn't respond, but there could be a conflict. I would think you would have to at least write something in saying that there's no something. I mean, I would think there's no conflict. I would think I would think, no different than the ethical disclosures that we file here. Listening, Jacob just brought it up. In the county, you have to put something. You just can't put nothing.
Legislator, in this particular contract before us, it seems to jump from page 67 to 68, so I'm missing a page. To 69, I'm sorry, so we seem to be missing a page. I think, though, to your, just a general answer to your question, I think there would be clarification from the vendor to maybe make an affirmative statement as to whether or not a conflict did exist.
Oh, I mean, 67, I would think, is where they're responding. You have page 67, correct?
I have 67.
67 is the page where the conflict question is.
Correct, but I'm assuming there isn't, it says subsection A, subsection B. I just don't know if there are any other subsections, B, C, or D, on the continuing page. So
let me make sure I understand this correctly, Mr. Kerr. If I'm reading this correctly, it says provide detailed response to all questions, check yes. If you need more space, photocopy the appropriate page and attach it to the questionnaire. So wouldn't that imply that they should check no? If there is no conflict.
There's no check. That's the problem. That's the problem.
I think we need to, you know what, we probably need to have this, rather than, I agree with the majority to certain degrees that maybe they feel that since there's no check, it's okay, but this form needs to be a little bit clearer, because you should never have to skip a question without putting in a response. We should probably require some kind of response so that the legislative body can feel a little bit comfortable, so we don't have to keep going through this over and over again.
Yeah, I understand where you're going, but let me say something to you. The error is probably in the way it's worded.
That's what I'm saying.
But since there is no provision or space in the item 17 to answer yes or no, it's assumed that if they didn't answer, that there is no conflict of interest. Correct? Would that be correct? I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to assume that.
I would say yes, presiding officer.
Why would we want to assume anything? We don't want to assume anything.
Then it has to be revised.
I would, rather than speak off the cuff, I believe you indicated that our office had previously spoken to this issue. I will come back and with clarification to put something to address that question specifically.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Legislative
I would just suggest that a simple statement that, if your answer to questions 15 or 16 was yes, please respond to item 17, something like that. I think it was just resolve the issue completely.
I think that would be the logical
Right.
response and answer, but we'll have something more specific to satisfy the minority.
Legislator Jacobs.
I just want to say something, Mr. Curto. It's not a matter of satisfying the minority. The point is nothing should be left for us to assume. Nothing should be a question that we as legislators have to assume that leaving it blank means no. It should definitively state it, just like we have to every year on our conflict of interest or conflict of interest that we file as legislators. I don't like the fact that we have to assume anything. That can only, what assuming does.
No, and I think we're in agreement. I think what I'm saying is, in order, you've raised a valid question, I think we have an answer to the question, but I don't want to be speaking off the cuff. I would rather speak with more authority so that you, not just the minority, the majority, the entire legislature can be satisfied that when they're voting on the contract, they have a definitive answer.
I think the main thing to get through to all of these vendors is just that they must answer. There's got to be an answer. Either you have a conflict or no, I do not. Or, it's so simple, especially if they don't have a conflict. This could be one quick no.
Okay, we're going back to the fact that the clause does not require them to say yes or no. And the fact that there is no provision in that clause to say yes or no. That's why the assumption is being made that there being none, there will be none. So, Ms. Lucero, we're going to try to correct that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Got it. All right.
Yeah,
Any other? Yes.
While
Go.
while we're talking about the revisions in the agreement, council just brought to my attention that the section B of question 17 is not really a yes or no question. It says, please describe the procedures your firm has or would adopt to assure the county that a conflict of interest would not exist for your firm in the future. That's not really a yes or no. That's more of a preventive action and disclosure that they would take in order to ensure that no conflict would come at their firm. So that to me is not really a yes or no. That really deserves a response, and we should probably be enforcing that section, at least to be responded.
I'm going to go back again. 1 and 2 of that clause does not indicate whether or not there's a yes or no response. If there is none, it's assumed that it's a no response.
That only,
The third
Presiding
clause
officer, that only,
is gone to first and
that has nothing to do, if you read section B, that has nothing to do with yes or no.
But question, I believe, yes it does, because
No.
it refers to, if the answer to A and B is no, then there's no reason to answer.
No, my officer, that's not the case.
Please,
Let
we
me,
need to clarify this.
Officer,
if we can, I can read it
I
again.
move the
I
table.
agree to, come on.
I move the table.
That's,
Presiding officer, we will clarify that question as well.
thank you very much, that's it.
Make a motion to table this. We do not have important information to make this decision.
You have a second, please?
Second,
All those in favor of tabling this contract, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Aye, it's not tabled, okay? It's that I will believe that we'll have the answers that we need going forward. Thank you.
Can you, Madam Presiding Officer, can you please explain your vote on that motion? Because we don't have that information.
No, not the, I think it was clarified by Mr. Burke.
And the fact that we clarified it at the last meeting regarding another situation similar to this, and the response was accepted as no. That no was assumed. I thought that at that particular time, if there was a question, maybe we should have raised it then. And there are no other comments regarding contract B3, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the contract passes 4-3. The next contract is E1, a personnel services agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the Department of Health, Social Services, and Human Services and Ventec. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Walker. Okay, any questions regarding this? Okay. I guess you're going to bring this.
Yes, at iSustain Information Technology. This is a software support vendor who's been with the county since '04, who supports a number of critical systems at DSS today.
Any questions? Yes. Any questions of Mr. Eisenstein? Legislator Jacobs?
Yes, Mr. Eisenstein, I do have a question. I was looking this over, and I just want to make sure I have this right. This company is going to be paid, a person is going to be paid for 35 hours a week, and they're going to be paid $120 an hour for 47 weeks to synchronize with the New York State Welfare Management System. Do we actually need 35 hours a week for 47 weeks at $120 for him or her to do that? Or could they look at it once a week and just compare and make sure they're all synchronized? I don't, it seems like a lot of money here.
This vendor's been a vendor in Nassau County for many years.
Right.
Has created this as well as many systems that operate that operation. We have vetted it. We feel that the work and the value